Om, Om, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Today we'll continue from where we left yesterday. So we were looking at the Guna Karma Vibhaga, Guna Vibhaga, based on the Gunas. Whereas now we come to, I'll just go through a little bit here. So the four groups of people according to Guna. Yeah. So this is verse 13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram apyayam. So although I seemingly have done, I am the author of this classification, know that I am not the doer. I am the unchanged. So the sattva rajas tamas composition is a very beautiful description of a person's inner composition. A person can be predominantly contemplative, a thinking person, because of which certain things are very evident to him or her. Any emotionally mature person, any inquirer or philosopher, anyone who thinks predominantly about fundamental values, the ends in life, and so on, is naturally a combination of sattva, rajas, tamas in that order. In such a person, sattva is predominant, backed by rajas in second place, tamas taking third place. This then is one type of person. The second type will naturally have rajas predominant. When rajas is predominant, the second can be either sattva or tamas. When rajas is predominant, the person is very active, fired by a certain ambition. When this ambition is directed to the welfare of others and to certain ideals, there is a lot of thinking involved. Therefore, sattva is in second place. The person's enthusiasm and actions being backed up by thinking. Such people generally become good leaders. The world needs such leaders. Then we have the third group of people, those who are always active, having rajas predominant, but who have tamas rather than sattva in the second place. This means there is ambition rather than thinking behind their actions. An example of ambition without thinking is when someone goes after money, power, or whatever without any consideration for others. Because such a person also has some sattva, some thinking capacity, he or she will not only be very active, but may also be very clever, very intelligent. But because tamas is predominant over sattva, there will be a lot of scheming, manipulation, and exploitation of others. If, on the other hand, sattva is backing up by rajas, there will be consideration for other people. There will be a respect for life and for wealth and for the freedom of others. Whereas when tamas backs up rajas, there is only disrespect for dharma, meaning there will be no regard for others. For such a person, individual ambition is most important, and he or she becomes a despot. Rajas being predominant, such people also become world leaders. If they do not become leaders, only their families and perhaps their neighbors suffer. Whereas, if they assume world leadership roles, the results can be devastating. Stark example is Arjuna and Duryodhana. Both were active, both had Rajas predominant. But Arjuna had Sattva backing up Rajas, and therefore he was even able to give out that Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Whereas Duryodhana, he says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi. Janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. So he only had ambition, but it was only self-centered. The fourth type of person, wherein tamas predominates, presents no such problem. At worst, these people are small-time criminals and at best, simple employees, not out of any real contentment or anything, but simply because of dullness. Such people have no ambition whatsoever, not even to make money. In fact, they have already decided that they cannot make money. If I could make money, I would have made it long ago, they will say. And then, to justify their laziness, they add, who needs money anyway? And if such a person has a little ambition for something, he or she will not work to make it happen and will compromise at every turn. This then is what is meant by dullness, tamas. If a tamas, rajas, sattva person wants to become sattva, rajas, tamas, he or she has to become rajas, tamas, sattva first, then rajas, sattva, tamas, and only then sattva, rajas, tamas. There is no jumping possible here. It is a process involving growth, and this is what maturity is all about. This is also what we mean by karma yoga, whereby one becomes mature by doing karma with a karma yoga attitude. And this is what we also see in our practices, right? Even in our yoga and meditation, you don't start with meditation. You start with some physical exercise. So that tamas, you have to come out of that tamas, become rajas first. So there is some activity. There's some warm-ups and then asanas. And then you have Sudarshan Kriya. So all this involves activity. So from tamas, rajas, sattva, you're moving to rajas, tamas, sattva, maybe for, and then rajas, sattva, tamas. Then the stage is set for meditation to happen. And then you go to, you meditate. Meditation is a finer skill. If without preparation, someone just sits for meditation, what the person will do is just snore and sleep. So in order to meditate, you require that certain preparation. So you cannot jump that process. So similarly here also, from tamas, rajas, sattva, which is the bottom rung of this fourfold classification, if one has to go to sattva, rajas, tamas, necessarily has to pass through rajas, tamas, sattva, and then rajas, sattva, tamas. Up to rajas, tamas, sattva, growth is simply a matter of performing karma, pursuing one's own ends according to dharma. Only when one performs karma with an attitude of karma yoga does the person become sattva, rajas, tamas. Only when one performs, this is the person who can become a sannyasi. Shades of difference exist within each of these four groups. For example, rajas, tamas, sattva can be a criminal or just an ambitious salesperson. When the latter invites you into his place of business with a smile, you may end up paying for the smile too. There is a rank selfishness in this type of person that makes him or her convert every action into dollars and cents. Rajas, tamas, sattva people can follow either dharma or adharma. Shades of difference being there. Once you reach rajas, sattva, tamas, you automatically follow dharma. So you see how the transition is from tamas, rajas, sattva, where a person is dull, does not even want to explore the universe. He is just saying, oh, I'm content. What is the need for money? I'm already happy. I don't want this. What is the need to do? Why? Because it is driven by tamas. So sattva takes a backseat there. There is no thinking happening. Finer thinking is not happening. It's only propelled by inertia, by dullness. So from there, he goes on to rajas, tamas, sattva, where he can either be dharmic or adharmic. And then when sattva backs rajas, sattva, tamas, the third category, there can only be dharmic actions. Because why? Sattva is backing it. So there is clarity in thinking, there is discrimination. And then finally, one matures to become sattva, rajas, tamas, which is the attitude of a karma yogi. Where you respect life, you respect others, you honor the creation. The universality of the fourfold division. These are the three qualities which cause the differences in groups of people, not only in India, but all over the world. Sattva, rajas, and tamas belong to Prakriti, to nature, which belongs to Bhagavan alone. On the basis of this Prakriti, then, this division of people according to qualities, this guna vibhaga is done. All people come under the four groups formed by the possible combinations of the three gunas, because everyone has to work his or her way through the four compositions in order to mature. So each of us will have to categorize ourselves as to where we stand, right? and then move on and evolve from there. In the Vedic context, the people having the first combination, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, are called Brahmanas. Those having the second combination, Rajas, Sattva, Tamas, are called Kshatriyas. Those having the third, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, are called Vaishyas. And those having the fourth combination, Tamas, Rajas, Sattva, are called Shudras. This then is the Guna Vibhaga, the fourfold division based on qualities referred to in this verse. Now, duty-based division among people. There is another kind of division inherent in this system, also fourfold, the people of each division being called by the same names. This division is based on duty, karma vibhaga. The duty of a brahmana, for example, is to teach and to officiate at rituals. His life is one of prayer for the welfare of the society, and he lives very simply with no more than the barest essentials. He must practice Shama and gain Dhamma. He studies the Veda, teaches, and serves as an officiating priest, undertaking all those liturgical activities that are the duties of a priest. The society requires that certain, just 1 minute, let me check the meaning of this liturgical because I don't know what it is. Liturgical means refers to the formal, public, and structured worship rituals of a religious community. It's usually associated with churches. So basically, it's formal, structured worship, ritualistic worship, right? So the society requires that certain religious activities be conducted, and the Brahmana is responsible for them. He is a priestly person. Thus, there is a guna-wise Brahmana and a duty-wise Brahmana. Similarly, there is a guna-wise Kshatriya and a duty-wise Kshatriya, whose duty is to protect Dharma, be committed to knowledge, and protect the Vedas. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna's duty was to rule and protect the people in terms of administration, judiciary, law enforcement, and defense. All these functions fall under Kshatriya Dharma and are duties to be done in every society. Just give me a second. So there is a guna-wise Brahmana and a duty-wise Brahmana. Similarly, there is a guna-wise Kshatriya and a duty-wise Kshatriya, whose duty is to protect dharma, be committed to knowledge, and protect the Vedas. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna's duty was to rule and protect the people in terms of administration, judiciary, law enforcement, and defense. All these functions fall under Kshatriya Dharma and are duties to be done in every society. A Vaishya is a person who deals in commerce, wealth, farms, agriculture, and so on. Commerce involves bringing things from the place where they are produced and selling them in other places where they are needed. Thus, a Vaishya is the one whose duty is to make things available to people. So, what is the Vaishya guna wise? Guna wise Vaishya is the Rajas, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, right? And then the fourth division is the Shudra provide the hands and legs, eyes and ears for the others. Their duty is to serve, and without such people, nothing could be accomplished. The activities they perform are found in all societies in the world and must be done if the society is to function. I think, if I remember right, Prem had mentioned the this classification based which was depicted very well in the Purusha Sukta. So, how the legs, hands, and eyes, basically all
Even
the
head, Sahasra Shirsha.
yeah, the head is the Brahmana, thinking, right? So
Okay,
that
huh.
becomes the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Whereas all the karmendriyas, all the organs of action that require activity, that require not much of thinking. You don't require a lot of thinking there. You just have to do. Thinking is done by the head, right? So basically, in the Purusha Suktam, it is very nicely categorized. I'm not adept at that, so I may not be able to explain that right. But I just remembered that this correlation to what was there in the Purusha Suktam to the Guna Vibhaga and the Karma Vibhaga was given. So, in the Vedic religion, the activities of each of the four groups of people are converted into duties. One second. And yeah, so I'm just going to read this, the Purusha Sutta. It's from the Rig Veda. It's a fundamental Vedic hymn that describes the creation of the universe from a cosmic, all-pervading being known as the Purusha or Virat Purusha. It's a hymn of 16 verses that describes creation as a massive symbolic sacrifice, yajna, where the Purusha offers himself to create all forms of life, natural elements, and social order. The classification of people is mentioned in the 11th or 12th verse of this hymn. The fourfold classification Varna system. The hymn describes the four Varnas, functional categories of society, as emerging from the different body parts of the Purusha during the creation sacrifice. Brahmin, the priest or teacher, born from the mouth, symbolizing knowledge, speech, and wisdom. Kshatriya, warrior or administrator, born from the arms, symbolizing protection, strength, and power. Vaishya, merchant or trader, born from the thighs, symbolizing livelihood, trade, and agriculture. Shudra, laborer or worker, born from the feet, symbolizing sacrifice, stability, and support for the entire context, entire society.
Can you repeat that again?
And this is from the internet, okay? So this is
No
AI.
problem. No, yeah, no problem.
So what it says is everyone is born from the Purusha. The whole creation comes out of the Purusha. And the social order, fourfold classification, Varna system, also is depicted. The functional categories of society as emerging from the different body parts of the Purusha during the creative process. So, Brahman comes from the mouth, symbolizing knowledge, speech, and wisdom. Kshatriya, warrior or administrator, comes from the arms, symbolizing protection, strength, and power. Whereas Vaishya comes from the thighs, born from the thighs, symbolizing livelihood, trade, and agriculture. That is what the Vaishya does. Right? Duty wise, Vaishya, he procures things and sells them, producing and selling. That is the role of a Vaishya. And therefore, the thighs. Shudra, born from the feet, symbolizing service, stability, and support for the entire society. Interpretations and context, organic connectedness. Many scholars and commentators interpret this not as a social hierarchy, but as an organic, interdependent system. Just as the body requires all parts, mouth, arms, thighs, feet to function, society requires all four classes to thrive. Symbolic meaning is the Purusha Sukta is often understood to mean that all beings, regardless of their social role, are born from the same divine essence, promoting the unity of existence. And flexible nature is while the Purusha Sukta describes the Varnas, traditional Hindu texts, including Bhagavad Gita, often explain that Varna is based on guna, that is, the aptitude or quality, and karma, action, rather than strictly by birth, highlighting a meritocratic origin. Scholarly view on the interpolation. Some scholars, including B.R. Ambedkar and Max Muller, believe that the verses detailing the Varnas are a later addition, interpolation to the Rig Veda, inserted to validate an existing social structure that was emerging at the time of its composition. So, significance of the Purusha is all pervasive. The Purusha is described as having thousands of heads, Sahasra Shirsham, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. So, described as having thousands of heads, eyes, and feet, filling the entire universe and transcending it. Creator and creature. The Purusha is both the creator through his sacrifice and the created universe itself. And the other elements, the hymn states that the moon was born from his mind, the sun from his eyes, Indra and Agni from his mouth, and air from his breath, showing that all nature is also part of him.
Agni again from mouth, huh? That's Brahmana is that mouth is Brahmana.
Yeah, I'm just going to check whether again. Yeah, I think it's important for us to also, um, familiarize ourselves with this Purusha Sukta. Verse 1, 2. So it starts off with Om सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपात् स भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा अत्यतिष्ठत्यशाङ्गुलम्. Anyway, I think that will be a deviation. I just remember this correlation between the Purusha Sukta and this. Maybe we'll post the audio version or the Sanskrit PDF of the Purusha Sukta so we can all go through that once. So, in the Vedic religion, the activities of each of the four groups of people are converted into duties and are enjoined according to family. We do not know when all this started, but whoever was doing the duties of a Shudra or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Brahmana kept passing these same duties down to his or her children. Strictly speaking, anyone who does the work of a particular group should be known by the name of that group, regardless of which group he or she is born into. A person who is born in a Brahmana family but does Vaishya karma is a Vaishya. A true Brahmana, on the other hand, is one who, having been born into a Brahmana family, lives a simple life so as not to exploit the society, studies and teaches the Veda, and performs the obligatory rituals for the welfare of the people, just as his father, grandfather, and great grandfather did before him. Duties being there, we have these four groups of people. Of course, duties can be transgressed, but that is not the point here. The duties themselves, the karma, are the basis for the division of people, each group having its respective duties. Thus, there are Brahmana duties, Kshatriya duties, Vaishya duties, and Shudra duties. A man who is a Brahmana in terms of karma, duty, may chant the Veda, officiate at rituals, and so on. But guna wise, he may be ambitious and may want recognition. So, guna is a matter of an inner composition, the aptitude, the mental makeup based on the sattva, rajas, tamas gunas. Such a person is not sattva, rajas, tamas, which is a guna wise Brahman, right? If, however, he carries out his duties with the attitude of karma yoga, he is sattva, rajas, tamas. Then his attitude is, this is my karma, my duty. These duties are to be done by me. They are my offering to the Lord. So you see, there are so many composition possibilities. Now there is the aspect of birth also come in. So what Vedas and what Bhagavad Gita have uh, classified is based on the guna and karma. Whereas Janmataha is also come in and we do not know when it cropped up. Right? So now everyone is classified based on just the Janma. So for even if you take this classification, guna wise, it may not be Brahmana. He may just be karma wise a Brahmana. But guna wise, he may have, he may be even doing adharmic things. So guna wise, he would be what? Rajas, tamas, sattva. So there's so many permutations, combinations possible. Karma yoga and a duty-based society. Karma yoga is relatively easy for a person who is born into a structure where the concept of duty is so clearly defined. When the spirit behind the structure is understood, all the person has to do is what has to be done. The person need not choose a vocation in life. He or she knows exactly what is to be done based on which family he or she is born into. One's duty is written all over one's forehead at birth, so to speak. So that will be the simplest thing to do, easiest thing to do. You're already ordained to do certain thing and you just do it. For a person who believes in the law of karma, there is no other reason for him or her to have been born into a particular family. I repeat this, for a person who believes in the law of karma, there is no other reason for him or her to have been born into a particular family. Some karma is the governing factor, and what is now to be done is clear. For
Regular.
example,
Can you
yeah,
please repeat that? Uh,
yeah. So, for a person who believes in the law of karma, there is no other reason for him or her to have been born into a particular family. So, basically, it is because of karma he is born into a particular family. Some karma is the governing factor, and what is now to be done is clear. For example, a man who is born into a Brahmana family knows that he has to study, perform yajnas, and so on, and he does so happily. While performing his duties, he does not mutter. If only I were an administrator, I would have earned a lot of money by now. Instead, I have nothing. If earning money is the main criterion, a system based on duty cannot work. See, if the value system changes, then the whole thing gets chaotic. Everyone will look to see which vocation produces the most money and do only that. If medicine produces money, you will become a doctor. And when a glut develops in the field of medicine, you will turn into another field where there is more opportunity, more money. If money and power are the main criteria, there will be no structure, really speaking. The money and the power will set up the structure for one's education, profession, marriage, and so on. Isn't that what is happening right now in our society? Unfortunately, the value system has changed, has shifted from duty based living to money and power based living. But here in the Vedic vision, moksha, liberation, is the main aim. The Veda says that you are perfect and that you have to achieve this knowledge, which is moksha. To do this, you must have a mature mind, and this kind of a mind can only be gained by living a life of karma yoga. For karma yoga, you must necessarily have a certain duty and be clear about what you are to do. When you are clear about what your duty is, then you can perform all karma, all activity as duty. We have seen how the duties of a Brahmana are very evident to the person. Similarly, the duties of Kshatriya are very clear to him, and he performs his karma as a duty cheerfully. A Vaishya also knows exactly what is to be done by him. His father is engaged in either commerce or cultivation, or he may have a cattle farm. The son chooses one of the three or involves himself in all of them. Whatever he chooses to do is done as his duty and for a reasonable profit. A Vaishya also is not supposed to exploit the society in any way. For example, he must not create a scarcity by buying all available stock, storing it somewhere, and then releasing it in small amounts at large profits when the people begin clamoring for it. Such practices are definitely not in conformity with dharma, nor are they Vaishya dharma. Thus, when a Vaishya performs his duties happily according to his own dharma, it can be yoga for him. The duties of a Shudra karma, are the same. They are not lowly or demeaning karma. They are simply duties to be done. So, unfortunately, this is what is happening right now. When there was LPG shortage, not shortage, when there was this energy crisis thanks to the war, there were people, vested interests, just started buying and storing in bulk all the LPG cylinders in India, creating an artificial scarcity so that they could start releasing them at high prices and make profit. So all that is not inherent in a true Vaishya karma. That is Vaishya with a tamas attitude. So it is Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, doing adharmic things, right? So basically, if one believes in the law of karma and you're born into a particular family, what you have to do is already set, decided by that karma. So you just have to follow that. But what we do, we follow the societal value-based value system, the changed societal value system where money and power are given importance. So that becomes your goal. Whereas the Veda says moksha is your goal. So to attain moksha, no matter where, in which family you are born, you can still be a karma yogi. You can still cleanse your antakarana and pursue this knowledge. So why you are born in a Vaishya family, why you are born in a Kshatriya family, that's based on karma. But what is your ultimate goal? All the three varnas, it is, all the four varnas, it is moksha alone. So you evolve and you do what you're ordained to do. Rather than putting in your own choice and then end up being something because of the value system of society. So it is like this man who's born into a Brahmana family, knows he has to study, perform yajnas and all that. One person could be doing it happily, doing it as karma yoga, whereas another could be doing it, but inside is muttering that, oh, if I was an administrator, I would have gained more money. So his priorities are deviated from what the Veda has set. The Veda has set the priority as moksha. Ultimate gain, ultimate purushartha is moksha. So when one loses sight of this priority and just goes after artha and kama, then there is chaos in society. And that is why we have such a society right now where everyone claim the whole focus is on getting name, fame, and power and wealth. It's all profit based, materialistic living. Anybody wants to share anything before we go on to the next verse, next portion? So similarly, a Shudra does not mean he is to be looked down upon. It is only, that is the classification based on the duties to be done. And it does not mean a Shudra is denied moksha. For him also, the ultimate Purushartha is moksha. It can be yoga for him. If he does his duty happily with an attitude of yajna. Superiority is determined by one's maturity, not duty. No duty is superior to another. Each duty is as good, as necessary as every other duty. Therefore, one group of people is not superior or inferior to another group of people. The people themselves are nothing but Parameshwara, irrespective of which group they belong to. In every society, there are certain activities to be performed, and these activities or duties fall into four general groups. Thus, the groups that people belong to differ from each other only in terms of the duties attached to them. When a person belonging to any group performs his or her duty with an attitude of karma yoga, that person becomes guna wise, sattva, rajas, tamas. So I'll repeat this. When a person belonging to any group, so any of the four groups, performs his or her duty with an attitude of karma yoga, that person becomes guna wise, sattva, rajas, tamas. So guna wise, he's a brahmana. A brahmana who chants the Veda for the sake of personal glory becomes rajas, sattva, tamas. If he does it for money alone, with no other ambition, he becomes rajas, tamas, sattva. And if he performs a ritual in the temple with an attitude of dullness for no other reason than to feed himself, he is tamas, rajas, sattva. I'll repeat this paragraph. So when a person belonging to any group performs his or her duty with an attitude of karma yoga, that person becomes guna wise, sattva, rajas, tamas. Remember, there are only four compositions possible, right? So the highest is sattva, rajas, tamas. So when one performs his duties, no matter which group he belongs to, with an attitude of karma yoga, he is sattva, rajas, tamas with respect to guna. A brahmana who chants the Veda for the sake of personal glory becomes rajas, sattva, tamas. If he does it for money alone, with no other ambition, he becomes rajas, tamas, sattva. So guna-wise, he's brahmana when he's performing karma yoga. He becomes kshatriya guna-wise if he's doing it for personal glory, for name and fame. But if he does it only for money, he becomes a vaishya guna-wise. That is rajas, tamas, sattva. And if he performs a ritual in the temple with an attitude of dullness, he is just chanting the mantras like mechanically, dullness. There is no energy, no enthusiasm, no liveliness in his thing. For no other reason than to just feed himself, he is tamas, rajas, sattva. He is the shudra guna wise. There is another kind of brahmana who enjoys what he does and does it well, but at the same time wants everyone to listen to him. He is always looking around to see who is coming. There are also those who, seeing someone who has a lot of money coming, will stop right in the middle of performing a puja and fawn all over the person. God has to wait, it seems. Thus, there are several varieties of brahmanas. Brahmanas, meaning brahmanas both duty-wise and guna-wise. Kshatriya brahmanas, those who are brahmana duty-wise and kshatriyas guna-wise. Vaishya brahmanas, those who are brahmanas duty-wise and vaishyas guna-wise. And shudra brahmanas, those who are brahmanas duty-wise and shudras guna-wise. In the same way, there are brahmana kshatriyas, kshatriya kshatriyas, vaishya kshatriyas, shudra kshatriyas, brahmana vaishya. So basically for every group you can categorize them as brahmana vaishyas, kshatriya vaishyas, vaishya vaishyas and shudra vaishyas. Then brahmana shudras, kshatriya shudras, vaishya shudras and shudra shudras. Who is superior in all of this? A brahmana brahmana, brahmana kshatriya, brahmana vaishya and brahmana shudra are all equal. So the brahmana is superior. This statement must not be misunderstood. When we refer to a brahmana as superior, we are not talking about a person who performs the duties of a brahmana. We are talking about the quality, the maturity of the person's mind. There is a lot of difference, lot of confusion around this very point that has given rise to the prevalence of caste-related problems. So it is basically dependent upon the, not just about the karma, but also guna. So you have various classifications. So 4 into 4, about 16 varieties are there. But the Brahmana Vaishya, Brahmana Kshatriya, Brahmana Vaishya, and Brahmana Shudra are all equal. Although they may be duty-wise performing different kinds of karma. But quality of mind-wise, they are all the same. Why? Because they're all pursuing karma yoga. If a man performs Brahmana duties, says that he is superior, he is definitely demonstrating a lack of the qualities of a Brahmana and is therefore not a Brahmana. You will find many great historical saints who were not Brahmanas by birth being worshipped in temples in India. Some were Shudras and others were Harijans, meaning those who do not belong to any of the four groups. I mean, this Harijans was a later creation, so let's not get confused with that. Most of these saints were duty wise Shudras, but they have places in the temple because they were Brahmana Shudras. Therefore, guna wise, people can be Brahmanas while belonging to any of the four duty based divisions. Duties may change, but qualities do not. This classification of duties and people can apply anywhere, not just in India. Here, the only difference in the fourfold division is that it was reflected within the family structure itself, each family belonging to one of the four groups. Probably less than 1% of the people still follow this system, but amongst those who do, the son of a Brahmana still studies and teaches the Veda, performs the prescribed rituals, prays for the society, and lives a simple life. The system is almost gone because it requires a certain protection that it no longer enjoys. No system can survive unless it is protected. Prior to the Mughal invasions, the fourfold classification structure in India was protected by the royal families. However, during the 800 years of Muslim rule, it was destroyed. Later, in the interests of survival, people concerned themselves only with doing what had to be done to look after themselves and their families. Because a man no longer bothered about what his father's karma was, the whole structure changed in terms of duty. However, in terms of quality, guna vibhaga, the division of people does not change. This is where karma yoga as an attitude becomes clearer. A karma yogi is one who does what has to be done with the proper attitude. Such a person is also a Brahmana, sattva rajas tamas, with reference to the quality of his or her mind. Only this Brahmana can be a sannyasi. The mandate that only a Brahmana can be a sannyasi is based on quality of the mind alone and has nothing to do with which group a person is born into in terms of duty. So very clearly indicated here, right? Very clearly described. We'll stop here. We have just a minute. Anyone wants to share? We'll do Krishna as doer and non-doer tomorrow. Yeah. So it is based on the mental makeup, not just where you're born into or what your duty is. So right now, what we are all placed in different categories. We may be Brahmanas, born into a Brahmana family, but we may be pursuing a Vaishya karma. Someone may be into business, someone may be into administration. So what can we do? Rather than sit and regret, oh, why am I not doing this? Wherever we are, we just have to change our mental makeup, change the attitude, and become a true karma yogi. So we'll stop here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.